Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. Now, let us continue reading Friedrich Nietzsche's Thus Spoke Zarathustra book. Quite sassy, and I think it is quite unique, I must say. Now, I'm gonna skip the on child and marriage part because it really wasn't that interesting. So I'm gonna go on free death, okay? That'll be the only one I skip. It just didn't seem to have a lot of oomph to it, so you can read that on your own. Let us begin. Many die too late, and a few die too early. The doctrine still sounds strange. Die at the right time. Die at the right time, thus teaches Zarathustra. Of course, how could those who never live at the right time die at the right time? Well, that's interesting. How could those who never live at the right time die at the right time? Now, each one of us has a term appointed in Islam, we'd argue. And so, when we see an argument like this, or a phrase, not really arguing, but a question rather, maybe you can think to yourself, you would like to die as you lived, or at least to have a better death than your life. Would that they had never been born. Thus I counsel the superfluous. But even the superfluous still make a fuss about their dying, and even the hollowest nut still wants to be cracked. Everybody considers dying important. But as yet death is no festival. As yet men have not learned how one hallows the most beautiful festivals. I show you the death that consummates a spur and a promise to the survivors. He that consummates his life dies his death victoriously, surrounded by those who hope and promise. Thus should one learn to die, and there should be no festival where one dying thus does not hallow the oaths of the living. To die thus is best. Second to this, however, is to die fighting and to squander a great soul. What? Okay, so to die fighting, but squandering a great soul is a waste. So how does that make sense? But equally hateful to the fighter and the victor is your grinning death, which creeps up like a thief, and yet comes as the master. So death, creeping up like the thief, but arrives like the master. We are unsuspecting most of the time, right? And so, yeah, it can feel like it's a bit of a theft. Comes as a master because you were unable to escape it. You're unable to withstand it. It knows its course and it's going to come no matter what, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed it. You ain't going to escape it. My death I praise to you, the free death which comes to me because I want it. And when I want it, and when shall I want it? He who has a goal and an heir will want death at the right time for his goal and heir. And from a reverence for his goal and heir, he will hang no more dry wreaths in the sanctuary of life. Sanctuary of life. Dry wreaths. Verily, I do not want to be like the rope makers. They drag out their threads and always walk backwards. That is very clever. Because, think about it. They have to go back, you know? When you're not climbing, you're not going up, right? You are making it going backwards. That's clever. Some become too old, even for their truths and victories. A toothless mouth no longer has the right to every truth. And everybody who wants fame must take leave of honor betimes and practice the difficult art of leaving at the right time. Now that's interesting. So, if you want fame, sometimes you have to leave your honor behind you. And then you have to know when to retire, essentially, is what he's getting at, it sounds like. One must cease letting oneself be eaten when one tastes best. Ooh, I like that. Cease letting yourself be eaten when you taste best. I really think of your energy, you're in your prime, you're in your health, and then here comes somebody who is just like a psychic vampire, just taking out all your energy, draining you, making you miserable, sapping you of your vitality. That is known to those who want to be loved long. There are sour apples, to be sure, whose lot requires that they wait till the last day of autumn, and they become ripe, yellow, and wrinkled all at once. In some, the heart grows old first. That's interesting. The heart grows old first. In others, the spirit. So the heart versus the spirit growing older in you. And some are old in their youth, but late youth preserves long youth. For some, life turns out badly. A poisonous worm eats its way to their heart. Let them see to it that their dying turns out that much better. Some never become sweet. They rot already in the summer. It is cowardice that keeps them on their branch. It is cowardice. See, he's so good. He's using these metaphors, this symbolism. It's like these very clever ways of telling us truths, but coded within this kind of naturalistic setting. So, some never become sweet. They rot in the summer. And they're coward. Like, so these apples, they're not going to become sweet. They should just fall to the ground and rot. They're already rotten. But they're too cowardly to fall. You could look at someone's own self. They're not ripe in their heart, but they're too much of a coward to let it go. All too many live, and all too long they hang on their branches. Would that a storm came to shake all this worm-eaten rot from the tree. That's a nice phrase right there, a sentence rather. Would that a storm came and shake all the worm-eaten rot from the tree. How you could use that in your own language. Just when change happens, when shifts happens. I'd argue when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes in and, gives you a little bit of discomfort, it's going to separate the good stock from the bad stock. Would that there came preachers of quick death. I would like them as the true storms and shakers of the trees of life. But I hear only slow death preached, and patience with everything earthly. Alas, do you preach patience with the earthly? It is the earthly that has too much patience with you. Blasphemers. That's interesting. The earthly has too much patience for you. So patience with the earthly, but maybe they have too much patience for you. He flipped patience kind of on his head right there. Verily that Hebrew died too early whom the preachers of slow death honor, and for many it has become a calamity that he died too early. As yet, he knew only tears and the melancholy of the Hebrew, and the hatred of the good and the just, the Hebrew Jesus. Then the longing for death overcame him. Would that he had remained in the wilderness, and far from the good and the just. Perhaps he would have learned to live and to love the earth, and laughter too. His mission was for the Christians, that was his mission, right? For us Muslims, is a different type of situation for him. Believe me, my brothers, he died too early. He himself would have recanted his teaching. No, I don't think so. He had reached my age. Noble enough was he to recant. But He was not yet mature. I think he was, actually. He was a prophet, so I know what you're talking about. Immature is the love of the youth, and immature his hatred of man and earth. His mind and the wings of his spirit are still tied down and heavy. I don't think so. But in the man there is more of the child than in the youth, and less melancholy. He knows better how to die and to live. Free to die and free in death. Oh, free to die and free in death. Ah. Able to say a holy no when the time for yes has passed. Thus he knows how to die and to live. That your dying be no blasphemy against man and earth, my friend, that I ask of the honey of your soul. The honey of your soul. Now, it takes a long time to get a substantial amount of honey. How much work a bee has to do, flower to flower to flower, to get just a little bit of honey. They say just a tiny bit of honey, it's a bee's life. So you got a big old thing of honey, a little jar. How many bees had to give their life just for that? So giving the honey of your soul is a lot of work. It's your vitality as well. Honey is extremely healthy. Extremely healthy. So if you're going to give some honey of your soul, someone's going to use that to replenish themselves. Which is interesting because he mentioned here how they will want to take some of your energy out. In your dying, and your spirit and virtue should still glow like a sunset around the earth, else your dying has turned out badly. Thus I want to die myself, that you, my friends, may love the earth more for my sake, and to the earth I want to return, that I may find rest in her who gave birth to me. Verily Zarathustra had a goal. He threw his ball. Now you, my friends, are the heirs of my goal. To you I throw my golden bowl. More than anything, I like to see you, my friends, throwing the golden ball, and so I still linger a little on earth. Forgive me for that. Thus spoke Zarathustra. So, lingering on earth, you can understand the beauty in nature, the rawness of nature, seeing the animals' mass migrations, the force of the ocean waves, Niagara Falls, the thunders of that, how a tornado looks when it's spinning, how a precious bird tends to its little chicks, how the crocodile snatches a wildebeest and its baby in the Nile River, or in sub-Saharan Africa, where the wildebeest are. I'm not sure if Egypt has wildebeest all the way up there. But regardless, when you take a step back and you look at the weather, the landscape, and the animals, you can see the beauty of it. But when you see the human activities towards each other, and their immorality, and the decay when they're given a different type of consciousness, that can make you just want to eliminate yourself and go back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you have to stay and remain, do good deeds, be steadfast, have patience, don't give up, and then you can let go of your grip to the earth as you die. And be excited about your meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So your death, you should try to have it to where when the angel of death arrives, it's not that painful at the throat. What we've described, what I've read in hadith, where your soul almost doesn't want to leave, and it seems to be a struggle. Rather, when the angels arrive, the angels, according to the hadith, where it's like, peace be upon you, this is the day you were promised, and you're going, and you're not tortured in your grave. It'd be quite different when you die in a good way, with excitement that you are not going to get your record in your left hand, but you're going to get it in your right hand. That type of death is going to be quite different. And if you die as a martyr, is a quick death, hopefully. You're not tortured and in a gulag. But it's interesting how he talked about preachers that talk about the quick death, preachers that talk about the slow death, and then he talked about people having patience with the earthly, but also the earthly having too much patience with them. So you see the sort of time coming in his examples here. Because remember he mentioned the apples, when they become ripe, when they become rotten. So the apple example, and then talking about death, you're seeing time and ripeness. When the apple is ready to fall, is it rotten when it falls, or does it fall because it's ripe? Or did it fall from the tree because it was underripe and a great breeze came? So when he mentions that some people leave too early and some too late, and then use that apple example, he really did make it clear for us this kind of interesting way of looking at the tree of life, of people's families, your family tree, the orchard of human life, of a nation. So many cool ways you could break that down and really examine it. So very cool section here. I didn't agree with what he said about Jesus at all, obviously. Peace be upon Jesus. He said Jesus, but you know, what do you expect? Nietzsche is a bit sassy, so we'll forgive him for that. But let me know what you think. By the way, if you'd like to join my blog, it's www.subscribestar.com/MilahanArchive. Hope to see you there.